I'm not Rupert Hodson.
I was going to say, you didn't look like Rupert, but the glasses threw me off. I wasn't sure. It was a Superman thing.
No, Rupert's great. I'm
He's not
Rupert's
here. Go ahead,
replacement today. Rupert's our CEO. I'm our CTO of Dianomi or Dianomi. And I just want to say Keith and Justin, that was really good. Hard act to follow. Really, really interesting, especially the last bit you said about what you think or the solutions you'd find are not, what's relevant. It's building that team. I think that's a really, really good way to end and a really valuable point. I can't agree more myself. Graciela, very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
I have a surprise question, my first question.
Okay.
I'm the CTO of Dianomi. What does it mean? I'll give you a hint. It's a Greek word.
I know. I know. I'm Greek too. That's why he's asking. It means distribution.
Sorry. It was so cool to meet an actual Greek person who actually knows what I mean. That's very rare. So you're Greek.
Yes.
Where are you from in Greece?
Athens, which is the capital.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Best museum. If you ever have the chance to go to Athens, the best museum you've ever seen. It has like stuff from 3,000 years ago.
I second that.
In Greece, I've been there a couple times. It's totally amazing. So can you tell us how your journey from Athens to being global head of media at BlackRock?
Sure. So currently I'm global head of audience strategy, distribution, and media at BlackRock. I have been doing that for 3 years. Basically, my team operates as a center of excellence for all teams around the world that do audience strategy, media, and distribution. And we're also involved in implementing campaigns of key priorities for the firm. Before that, I was at LOreal, a very different place, head of digital media there for 4 years. And before that, I was with different media agencies at WPP, and that's what got me around the world. So I started with them in Greece back then with MEC, now Wavemaker, in Athens, Greece. And then I relocated with them to London, and then I relocated with them to New York, and eventually I joined Redfuse, which is a different WPP agency. But yeah, that's what got me from Greece to here.
Oh, similar. So I was in the US, obviously, then Germany, Paris, London for 20 years.
Amazing. 20 years in London.
Yeah, and now I'm more or less here.
I only did 2 in London.
Wow. And so, do you miss Greece?
Not very much, no.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great place to visit for vacation,
Yeah,
but I love New York, so yeah,
okay.
this is
So
my
you're
home.
a New Yorker now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about BlackRock, like what it does, what an asset manager is, et cetera?
Yeah, so an asset manager, so BlackRock is an asset manager, and we're a fiduciary to our clients. And what that means is we invest our clients' money in order to grow their wealth and their portfolio. And we do that in different ways. It can range from managing retirement plans, 401ks, and pensions, all the way to index investing, ETFs, or model portfolios. So depending on the needs and objectives of the clients, we have different investment solutions and risk management solutions.
And am I right in saying that, from my extensive Googling, BlackRock's the largest asset manager in the world?
Correct.
And is that something like $10 trillion?
Correct.
Wow. So you're the global head of media for the largest asset manager in the world. That sounds pretty hard to me. What are the challenges there? Like, how do you?
Well, just like I think what is challenging about it is also what's interesting about it. I think being part of the finance industry means being part of an industry that is currently evolving and is subject to a lot of change as we speak, with technology and crypto and different investment solutions and tools that investors have to grow their wealth. So there is keeping up with that, and then there's also keeping up with the media industry. So kind of like being in the cusp of the two and making sure that our strategies and our campaigns are relevant to our consumers, whose habits and lifestyles are also changing because of technology. So I think it's a very interesting challenge. But yeah, that's I think what keeps my head spinning.
And I guess most of your business is in U.S., I suppose.
It's a global brand. Our business our business is global. From an advertising standpoint, the majority of what we do is in the U.S., but we also have marketing in EMEA and in Latin America and in APAC. So.
Wow. And can I ask how many languages you speak? Obviously Greek, English.
And French.
And French.
Yes.
Ah, I know why she speaks French. Figured that one out. So not only did you work at, or do you work at BlackRock, you worked with L'Oreal.
Correct.
And that's why you speak French.
Well, I spoke French before I joined L'Oreal, but yeah, I definitely practiced it there.
Okay. So L'Oreal is a global, these are two powerhouses, BlackRock in finance being the biggest, L'Oreal in beauty being, I don't know if it's the biggest, could well be the biggest. Can you compare what that's like working in finance and beauty?
Well, the industries are very different. I mean, that's straightforward, right? Beauty versus asset management. It's like in opposite sides of the spectrum, but they are very similar in the sense that they're both global brands. To your point, both companies are leaders in their respective industries. They both have a lot of teams around the world, a lot of stakeholders. And they're very, very ambitious brands. So to that, I mean, there are a lot of similarities in the ways of working and working as part of a matrix and global organization.
And by ambitious brand, what does that mean?
Well, they are number one and they want to stay number one. So
okay,
yeah.
So L'Oreal's number one too, basically.
I mean, last I checked,
yeah.
I haven't. I mean, I think they are the biggest beauty brand in the world.
I guess my questions aren't all brands ambitious, but I guess all brands probably are ambitious, but they're not number one. So I guess being number one, that's like added pressure in a way, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a really good point because you need to maintain that, and you need to find innovative and breakthrough ways to just maintain that position as the world is changing. So yeah, I think.
Wow. Okay. All right. Gosh, that does sound stressful. I mean, managing all the teams all over the world. Any additional does that there's timing issues? I know. I mean, we have team in Australia, team in Europe, team US, even timing, you've got to pick meetings when.
I mean, I also think that the other challenge is that media is, especially after the last 2 years, consumers' habits have increasingly become locally relevant. So, I mean, there was never a one size fits all, but now I think that's even more relevant. You can't, we do develop global strategies, but the sweet spot is making sure that we take under consideration the local nuances, and being able to coordinate that and make sure that always happens is definitely another challenge that we need to address.
What would be a local nuance in, I don't know, Europe or compared to the U.S. or, I don't know, to give us a flavor of just the kind of thing you have to be aware of with a global brand, which is so well known, maybe, or.
I mean, I'll get into the nitty-gritty a little bit, but the way people invest in Europe is very different to the way people invest in the US.
Right.
So the equivalent of a financial advisor in Europe has different rights over what they can do with your investments.
Got it.
Therefore, the way you need to communicate to your consumer as far as what they can do with their investments are concerned is different.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That sounds interesting. What is the difference between marketing to the beauty customer as opposed to the finance customer? Is there very different, very different.
I mean, well, it's a different industry. It's a different product. It's a different objective. So the marketing, by definition, is very distinct when you compare one brand with the other. Also, I think it all boils down to the actual audience, right? So and not just like their demographics, but also the mindset they're in, their media consumption habits. Why do they consume different media when they do, and the platforms that they use? So to that end, for a beauty customer, it might be super relevant to do augmented reality with Snapchat. And I remember back in the day, we did a makeup lens at the time, and that is something that for beauty it's super relevant. But for investors, it is more about education, information, making sure that they find investing also accessible, because a lot of people are scared about it. So very different.
Interesting. And I mean, at one point, you in the past, you talked about understanding the needs, the behaviors, and the goals of your customer to like build a strategy that connects them to the brand. Could you talk a little bit about that? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that in order to do any effective marketing initiative, a customer needs to be at the center of the strategy. And I know that we all talk about this to a certain extent, but I think that that's becoming more and more challenging and more nuanced. So I do think that the brands that will break through are the ones that fully understand their customer, fully take that nuance under consideration, and they develop the relevant messages and they appear in the relevant platforms and when their customer is in the right mindset. So I always try to explore that and make sure that I get as much information as possible for customers and for audiences.
And that because they're in the right mindset, they're in the right context, the messaging brings them closer to the brand. They become more connected.
I think so.
Okay, interesting. And what you talked about educating the customer. What type of content do you produce to grow and engage your audience?
Yeah, so at BlackRock, we do a lot of thought leadership content for capital markets. So, I mean, a good example, again, was during the pandemic, a lot of clients, but also broader audiences wanted to understand what will be the impact on capital markets, on their investments in the stock market, on real estate. So we have a lot of thought leaders internally. So we develop a lot of video content that where we have them speak in their area of expertise and talk about capital markets and the trends that are shaping the economy. We also have content that demonstrate our contribution to the communities in which we operate, because a lot of the investments we do for two different companies also have a positive benefit to society, and you can find all this content in our YouTube channel. We also have a podcast which is called The Bid. That's how I learned about the finance industry, because when I joined, I didn't know a lot of things. So highly recommend The Bid.
The bid.
the bid.
The bid. And that's actually, you learned yourself from that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I thought it was great. I still think it's great. And then educational content that, just, you know, from simple terminology to actual investment solutions and how you can use them depending on the goals you have for growing your wealth.
I actually coincidentally got an email from BlackRock, and
Oh, you did?
yeah, it's really good, really educational. And I suppose education builds trust, especially.
I think so. I think so. I think that especially education in financial markets, I find, because again, I don't. One of the things we have uncovered is that not everyone is super comfortable with finances. It's not something, unfortunately, we learn at school, or we're not experts in how to invest our wealth and grow it. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable. So I think when we hold hands with investors and we guide them through that investment journey by teaching them also how to invest in a smart way and how to grow their wealth, their children's wealth, and so on and so forth. I think that can definitely build trust.
And you talked about different platforms, I think also when you were at L'Oreal. Are there any platforms that you're leaning into right now? Um,
I mean, we are leaning into social. We are definitely most of our media mix is digital. So a lot of digital publishers, data-driven media, and I guess all of media is digital right now. I was about to say we're doing TV, but it's connected TV, so it's video and audio too. Podcasts are important for us. So pretty much everything.
yeah, we're seeing a lot more people using podcasts and of course video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it can be very effective. A lot of really good video out there in financial services. If you had to say, 2022, what are your? I think the last asked this in the last session. What are your top priorities in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is definitely measurement, becoming as precise as possible with measuring the impact that our marketing efforts have on our clients and consumers' perceptions. And uncovering more audience insights as much as possible. Like, keep on learning and understanding our audiences as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean the insights in financial services can be absolutely fascinating. So you're really
No
second
two
that.
investors are the same.
Yeah, that's true. And there's definitely patterns and shared goals, and yeah, that's a really we're really into that as well. If you could wave a magic wand and have the perfect marketing solution for your needs, what would that look like?
Well, I would love to have a tool that predicts how people's lifestyles and consumption habits are going to change in the future.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Would have been good for the pandemic.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So I can have a first mover advantage.
Right.
But also like real time measurement in people's perception, like true real time measurement in metrics such as awareness, favorability, purchase intent. Like how do these change real time based on what you're doing? And a great way to visualize all that so that you can understand it very easily.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's a great synopsis of what probably is something that's coming in the industry because there's so much data and it is real time. So definitely something we can all work on as marketers. I suppose I should open up to
Yeah,
questions.
we're going to do some Q&A. Let's see. Somebody got we got questions. Oh, good. No, it's good. Your question was my question last time, so you say people hear me. I think we got it there for you.
Thank you. I'm interested in your perspective on the streaming industry, especially considering some recent news with CNN and Netflix and so many entrants into that space and what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a cluttered space. I think so many networks and services right now have streaming versions. I don't know what is going to happen. It definitely reminds me of when TV blew up and we eventually had, like, I don't know, how many channels did we have in the US? Like, I remember coming from Europe and I was like, oh my God, 600 channels when I was. So it definitely reminds me of that. I wonder though if there will be, two or three winners in that space. And it will definitely depend on the quality of content that is being produced. Because they're also taking some share from the film industry, and people are increasingly using these services for watching movies and high production content. So I guess the jury's still out, but I do think it's a cluttered space, and you know the ones with the best content might be the winners in the future.
Hi. Just a quick question. Hi.
Hi.
um, so just going back to like your whole idea of your consumer base and then obviously growing new consumers, obviously it's spanning from, people in their latter part closer to retirement to, new crypto kind of bros or whatever people are calling them, just as far as thinking about investment. I'm wondering from your perspective, like how do you personalize that messaging because there's such a wide, broad grouping, or I imagine there's a broader grouping than ever before in terms of who you're trying to capture and convert to an actual customer. So how nimble are you with personalization and specific messaging? How do you change the messaging to speak naturally to the different groups? Just
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we still have a lot of work to do on personalization and on getting that right. Um, I would say, though, that we have a lot of products, that financial products. So each one of them caters to different needs. And in that sense, the message is personalized, if you will. It's a different product for different needs. But we definitely need to do a lot better in the way of personalization. The other thing we always make sure that we communicate is that investments for us, for BlackRock, is a long-term thing. So be it that you're young and you're interested in crypto, or you're older, or you have kids that you wanna invest in their college, and so on and so forth. What we are trying to sell and educate on is that investment is something which people need to think about long term. So that is common across different investors, but definitely, to your point, the story needs to be told differently depending on who you address it to.
Can I follow up? And regulation in financial services makes it a little harder, doesn't it?
Oh my God, it's
Okay.
it's the worst. Yeah, compliance and is definitely something that we take under consideration on an ongoing basis in terms of how we can speak to customers and who we can speak to, right? So different compliance governs communication to, let's say, a financial professional, and different compliance to an end investor who doesn't know finance. So
Thanks.
Yeah, hi, Graciela.
Hi.
You mentioned measurement, performance, insights, and that you're focused on that. That's an emphasis. Are have you have you seen anything in there that's changed your strategy? Maybe in maybe one negative and one positive that you've seen.
Sorry, so if I've seen anything in terms of like measurement tools, or if I've uncovered any
Yeah,
insights?
a great really, I guess how it applies to channels is how I'd be interested in hearing your answer. Is there anything that you saw in a channel you were using that returned better than you expected and on the flip side?
Yeah, I mean, lately, what the last thing we saw was that integration with virtual events worked for us, and I was not expecting it because I thought people had event fatigue, if you will, but it was a very relevant event for us, and it did work really well. Um, Out of home has worked a few times really well.
Out of home is, what does that mean?
Out of home advertising, so billboards
Oh, sorry.
and this type of advertising. Um, yeah, I think these two were probably, and then I know I can't talk about a lot. I can talk about it in detail, but then we partner with a publisher that I thought was, a great fit, and it did not work. Like it's not that it didn't work; it didn't do as well as I expected.
We won't ask who the publisher was.
No.
There is, I love that you spoke to Out of Home. There is that's some of my background, and they are measuring now in Out of Home. I don't know if that's caught up with you yet, but they are tying, outdoor impressions to all KPIs, down through
That's
the funnel.
great. And I also hear you can buy it programmatically now.
And programmatically as well. Okay.
Which is great.
We had a fund manager who, tested online, with multivariate, figured out the best brands, and then applied it to their out of home on billboards. I don't know if people
Interesting.
do that. Yeah, I mean, because you can get data so quickly online.
I see. That's great. Yeah.
Great. All right. Was that? I don't think we have any. Well, actually, we don't have time for questions, so I'm not going to ask. This is great. I will say for your answer on the CNN Plus thing was awesome. Has anybody watched Morning Show season 2? Like it just right. If I
Yes.
spoil it for you, too bad. You've had a chance to watch it, but there's this great scene just where like Corey, the Billy Crudup characters, is like there's no subscribers, right? And it's just like there's no one watching. And I feel like the exact same scene happened at CNN just a year later. So anyway, and your bet on Out of Home, your comment there, both of you guys, like it's another. I think it's another real interesting space. I was looking to see. I thought I saw Vistar down there, but as we were talking about like trends and things that are coming up, there's a whole bunch happening in that space for anybody who's interested in talking more about that. There's just one of the many things I'll just drop as knowledge that may or may not ever pan out because it doesn't matter when you make a prediction. So anyway, all right, Graciela, not Rupert. Thank you for today. It was awesome.